Buckingham Palace, October 7th, 2025. A date that will forever be etched in the annals of British history. A day when the very foundations of the monarchy were shaken to their core. Forget the fairy tales of princes and princesses, of unwavering loyalty and selfless duty. This is a story of power, jealousy, and a queen brought to her knees. The scene was set like a Shakespearean tragedy, a grand hall, usually echoing with laughter and music, now heavy with unspoken accusations. Every member of the royal family was present, their faces masks of barely concealed emotions. King Charles, a man wearied by years of public scrutiny and personal turmoil, sat at the head of the table, his gaze fixed on the woman who had shared his life for decades, Queen Camilla. But this was no ordinary family gathering. Camilla, stripped of her regal attire, sat alone, a pariah in the very palace she once ruled. Her hands trembled, betraying a composure she desperately tried to maintain. Before her, a damning array of evidence, a sealed envelope, typed documents, and a small black audio recorder, instruments of her downfall. What had driven this woman, once the steadfast companion of a future king, to such a precipice? How could a queen consort, seemingly content in her role, descend into a maelstrom of manipulation and deceit? The answer, as it often does, lies buried in the murky depths of human emotion: envy. The seeds of Camilla's undoing were sown in the idyllic gardens of Windsor Castle, a place of beauty and tranquility that masked the festering resentment within her heart. It began with stolen glances, subtle shifts in demeanor, and a growing fear of being overshadowed by the next generation. Prince George and Princess Charlotte, the adorable heirs to the throne, became the unwitting targets of Camilla's insecurities. Imagine the scene: Charles, beaming with grandfatherly pride, holding the hands of his grandchildren as they strolled through the rose garden, a picture of familial bliss. Yet to Camilla, it was a dagger twisting in her side. Every public display of affection, every complimentary headline fueled her paranoia. She saw in those innocent children a threat to her own legacy, a looming erasure from the royal narrative. "They will take all his affection," she reportedly muttered, a chilling whisper that revealed the depth of her fear. "If George ascends the throne, everyone will forget I ever existed." And so began her insidious campaign, a series of calculated moves designed to undermine the young royals and secure her place in history. It started subtly, with whispers in the ear of Rebecca Lewis, the children's trusted nanny. Camilla, cloaked in the guise of concern, urged Rebecca to instill discipline and remind the children that no one is above the rules. But beneath the veneer of responsible parenting lay a darker intent: to diminish their joy, stifle their spontaneity, and ultimately make them less appealing to the public. Then came the directives, each one more brazen than the last. George was barred from attending royal events, his presence deemed a threat to the king's image. Charlotte was denied access to charitable endeavors, deemed too young to represent the crown. Their writing lessons, dance classes, and music lessons were slashed, replaced with tedious studies of royal protocol. Windsor Castle, once a haven of laughter and play, transformed into a prison of unspoken anxieties. George's joyous spirit was replaced by a quiet resignation, while Charlotte retreated into her own world, her bright eyes clouded with confusion. The children sensed the shift in atmosphere, the subtle chill that had descended upon their once harmonious lives. "Nanny Rebecca?" George asked one evening, his voice filled with childlike innocence. "Why can't I ride horses with Grandpa anymore?" Charlotte chimed in, her voice barely a whisper. "Is Lady Camilla angry with us?" Rebecca, torn between loyalty and conscience, could only offer a feeble reassurance, a lie that tasted like ash in her mouth. She knew that Lady Camilla, the woman Charles called his peaceful pillar, was orchestrating a silent coup, using the children as pawns in her desperate game for power. Camilla, however, wasn't content with merely sidelining the children. She needed to solidify her position, to remind everyone, including Charles, of her importance. And what better way than to exploit the king's own vulnerabilities? Remember that secret notebook, the one Charles poured his heart into, detailing his private thoughts and anxieties, the one hidden in his Clarence House safe, its code known only to him and Camilla? That became her next target. Summoning Philip Barlow, a disgraced former communications secretary eager for redemption, she tasked him with a treacherous mission to copy select pages from the diary and leak them to the international press. Barlow, fully aware of the gravity of the situation, hesitated. "This is the king's," he stammered. "Are you sure?" Camilla's response was chilling. "I was once part of his life. If he can discard me like trash, I have the right to let the world know who he really is." And so, the dam broke. Within days, excerpts from the diary flooded the media. "Sometimes I feel I need a private fund, a place to keep things that cannot be disclosed to the council, not for deceit, but for survival," one passage read. Another, even more damaging, declared, "Camilla is a companion, not someone I love. Between us remains only duty and fake photos." The United Kingdom erupted. Television channels broadcast breaking news around the clock. Social media exploded with hashtags like King Scandal and Royal Deception. Charles, utterly blindsided, could only stammer in disbelief. "Who could have accessed it?" he cried. Kate, ever the pragmatist, worked tirelessly with the public relations team to contain the damage. Anne, her face a mask of disapproval, muttered darkly, "This is no coincidence. Someone is trying to destroy everything." Meanwhile, Camilla, in a calculated move, made her first public appearance since the scandal broke. Choosing a low-key art exhibition in Bath, she emerged in a simple gray dress, devoid of royal trappings, her lips curved in a knowing smile. "I believe that the truth, no matter how well hidden, will ultimately find its light," she declared. "I have nothing left to lose except my honor, and I am reclaiming it." The image of Camilla, head held high, surrounded by reporters, became a viral sensation. She was hailed as the queen who fought back, a wronged woman daring to challenge the throne. But those within the royal family knew better. This wasn't just a challenge, it was an all-out assault. However, Camilla's triumph was short-lived. An investigative reporter from The Guardian, scrutinizing the leaked diary excerpts, noticed inconsistencies, signs of scraping, altered handwriting, ink smudges. Handwriting experts confirmed the discrepancies. The media narrative flipped. Was Camilla manipulating public opinion with forged documents? Charles, in his study at Clarence House, stared at the altered diary pages, his heart heavy with betrayal. Even if forged, he realized, only someone intimately familiar with his handwriting and the safe's code could have pulled it off. "No one knows except her," he whispered, the realization dawning on him with crushing force. William, entering the study with a grim expression, confirmed his father's suspicions. "The investigation confirms only 2 people knew the safe's code. One is you, the other is," Charles cut him off, his voice laced with bitterness. "For so many years I tried to believe that love could soften a heart. But perhaps for some, love is just a weapon to wield when revenge is needed." Camilla, true to form, remained silent, neither confirming nor denying the forgeries. This, of course, only poured gasoline on the already raging fire. Foreign tabloids floated the idea that she possessed even more damaging secrets, maybe even letters from the late Princess Diana herself. The whole thing was spiraling into a soap opera of epic proportions. Then the hammer dropped. The BBC issued a special bulletin confirming what everyone suspected: the leaked diary was a fake, its pages tampered with. A criminal investigation was underway, the announcer intoned, his voice grave. The broadcast concluded with Charles looking utterly defeated, uttering a brief but pointed statement: "Whoever uses public opinion to destroy the truth will face the light of justice." It was a direct shot across Camilla's bow. But the question remained, what would she do next? That night, back in her private quarters, lit only by a flickering lamp, Camilla sat at her desk. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, but inside she was calm, almost serene. Before her lay the academic records of George and Charlotte. Innocent-looking documents, yes, but in her mind, they were weapons. She zeroed in on the line item for the Royal Education Fund, Cambridge Fund. An idea, wicked and brilliant, began to form. "Rebecca," she called, her voice soft yet laced with steel. The nanny, looking increasingly haunted, appeared in the doorway. "I no longer want those 2 to be prioritized in the Royal Education Fund," Camilla declared. "Note that they have not completed study requirements or have minor violations needing warning. Let that file leak." Rebecca, aghast, protested. A man that would cause them to lose scholarships and damage the royal family's image. Exactly, Camilla replied, her eyes gleaming with a chilling intensity. Camilla wanted the public to believe that even princes and princesses could face expulsion. She wanted to undermine William and Kate's credibility as parents. She wanted to remind everyone that she, Camilla, was still a force to be reckoned with. The documents were created, forged with careful precision. A memo suspending royal scholarship approval, citing an error from the Duke of Cambridge's office. And this was to be leaked not through official channels, but through Camilla's old press contacts, disguised as a routine fund review. Within days, the carefully laid trap was sprung. An anonymous email sent to the Daily Mail screamed, "George and Charlotte's expenses unconfirmed." The story exploded. William and Kate were slammed for neglecting their children's education. Doubts were sown. William, understandably, was furious. "This can't be," he raged, throwing the newspaper across the Kensington study. "All files were sent weeks ago." Charles, too, was livid. He ordered a full review of the education fund. The palace descended into chaos, but Camilla, watching it all unfold on television, simply smiled. "Just a few ambiguous lines," she murmured, "are enough to make the public doubt them, and I just need to stay silent." But Rebecca, her conscience finally pricked, couldn't bear it any longer. She knew that Camilla's actions were not just about jealousy, they were about calculated revenge. One evening, she made her way to William's study, her hands trembling, her heart pounding. She placed a file on his desk, a file containing damning evidence of Camilla's scheme. "It was her," Rebecca confessed, tears streaming down her face. "She told me to forge the notes, saying George and Charlotte weren't eligible for scholarship. I recorded it." William listened in stunned silence, his face a mask of fury and disbelief. He had never imagined that Camilla could stoop so low. That night, as the wind howled outside, William made a decision. He would expose Camilla's treachery, no matter the cost. The storm was coming, and it was going to break over Buckingham Palace.